Hello everyone, it's Jamarl Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So, Joanne Reid, our friend Joanne Reid. Well, actually, let me make sure I'm up first. I'm seeing green all around, so I'm going to assume that I am up. Joanne Reid. Joanne Reid has been in the lefty, let's call it the Democratic Functionary Network for God knows how long at this point. It's been years. She's been fortunate enough to have her own show on MSNBC. So she fits in perfectly with the other propagandists. Pursuing to her propaganda in regards to the Democratic Party, she had on a pastor who supported Donald Trump, who's a Trump supporter. Now, I've always made the point before that there is no such thing as a Christian conservative. They don't exist. Like, there's no way you can push forward the policies that a person pushes as a conservative and then claim that they love Jesus. Those things do not coincide with one another. You may have this kind of cultural relationship in the sense of Christianity. I mean, you just kind of wear it around you. Like Paul Ryan laughably calls himself a Catholic, that type of stuff. But I'm talking about the reality, the brass tacks of it, the things that you do in the real world. No such thing. That being said, this guy considers himself a pastor, but he also considers himself a Trump supporter. But listen to the conversation with Joanne Reid, because I'm kind of going into weeds. I'm going into tangent. The conversation itself I find is fascinating. I'm going to play that conversation, and as I play that conversation, I want you to hear his comments. I want you to hear her response. And when I call response, I mean how she looks at him when he's making his comments. And I want to talk about it after. Let's take a look for a moment. I make the point that this is everything wrong with MSNBC. I think this is everything wrong with MSNBC. So let's take a look. And by the way, when I said everything wrong, she's right and she's wrong at the same time on this. I would explain after the fact. Let's take a look.
Let us listen to the facts.
Let me ask you a question. Hold on a second. We have three other guests, and I want to let them in. I'm gonna just one more question for you, and then I want to go to. I'm going to come to Pastor A.R. Bernard. As a pastor, do you counsel your parishioners that morality is not a necessary ingredient for leadership? Is that what you preach in your church?
No. See,
because you just said it doesn't matter.
Now you just taking what I said out of context, because I did not say morality isn't important. I did not say that. I very clearly said
but immorality is not disqualifying for leadership in your view.
Because if that was the case, all of us would be disqualified. I would be disqualified.
I don't think all of us have been accused of sexually molesting children.
Dr. A.R. Bernard would be disqualified because the Bible says we all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. I have been an immoral man. Even after I was saved, I have fallen by the wayside. But by the grace of Jesus, I'm still here.
Let me go to Pastor A.R. Bernard.
That's awesome. That's awesome. He was like, morality is not necessary to be in office. And in fact, I want to get his exact quote, and I want to get her exact quote on this because I love this. I love this. I absolutely love this. So she says, let me ask a question, Reid stated. As a pastor, do you counsel your parishioners that morality is not a necessary ingredient of leadership? Is that what you preach for your church? Because you just said it doesn't matter. You have taken what I've said out of context, Burns replied. I did not say morality is not important, but morality is not qualifying for leadership. In your view, Reid press. If that was the case, all of us will be disqualified, Burns explained. And at this point, she's like she's on a heavy blink, and she's like giving him the side eye and all this other stuff. Now, come on, she's giving him the side eye for a reason, because in her mind, she's conflating a few things. Like, so this went from sexual allegations with regards to Moore, the Republican that touched, fondled, and apparently raped a bunch of people and kids, I believe. And just immorality in general. Like, that's such a wide thing. What does that mean? Like, so if you're saying, do you counsel your people that morality is not required for leadership? That type of stuff. Morality and immorality are somewhat sketchy things. Those things, to some degree, are subjective. Now, if we're talking specifically to rape, I'm pretty sure he doesn't counsel his people that rape is okay. I think the conversation drifted into this idea of morals and leadership. And I think that's a fascinating conversation. Because the way she went after him, she implied that somebody else would be somewhat of a moral leader. Or at the very least, try to be a moral leader. Now, if you're, let's say you're not affiliated with the party, and you saw this conversation, you would say, oh my God, is that guy really a pastor? That would be the first question. The second question would be, that guy is scrambling like nobody's business to explain how he's supporting Donald Trump and how he's backing up more in this process. That's the second thing. But third, if they're being honest with themselves, they would look at Joy and Reid and they would kind of make this point of, what leaders do you believe was moral in this country? What leaders do you believe were moral in general? I would wager to her. I would wager she would probably say Obama. I would wager a lot of people would probably say Obama. Now, here's the catch. When Joy and Reid was having this thing about Bush, hated his guts, I would imagine she would say Bush was an immoral man for invading a country and killing 1 million people, killing 1 million Iraqis, so having multitudes of people stream into other countries. I would wager Joy and Reid would say that. Now, the catch is, would Joy and Reid continue to say, I also think that Barack Obama was immensely moral in doing and behaving the same way, meaning taking on the Bush policies and extending the Bush policies further. I understand what she's trying to get at. She's trying to get at mores and moral and all this other stuff. But if you're going to make this argument about morality, that's immensely subjective. And I would make the case that leaders, for the most part, are not moral creatures. I don't think they can be. Yeah, I don't think they can be. Let me change that. They can be. Sometimes situations push them to behave in other ways. Let me say it that way. I just take issue with MSNBC taking this guy to task on his support of Trump in this context of morality and all this other stuff. But I don't remember her taking the last guy to task on this stuff. That's all. Every time I see somebody bashing, yeah. I don't remember these people taking these other people to task. That's all. I remember that last president being in office, and I understand that the tone is one thing, meaning how he sounds, his cadence, how he presents himself. Yeah, that's one thing. But look at the deeds. Look at what was taking place. Look at what was taking place. I just don't remember this conversation during the Obama period. That's all. That's all. I really don't. Wow, George Foreman is getting old. That guy's not George Foreman. There's a whole expose showing this guy getting caught being a fraud. I'm not shocked. Surprised he's still invited on TV. Well, Joy and Reid. Joy is so ridiculous and transparent in her corruption. You know, she's going after this guy like whole hog. Now, to be fair, the guy is defending somebody who's accused of like 9 counts of pedophilia or something that happened 40 years ago. So, yeah, she's going after him. And his argument is we should fight for the process. Like, if that was anybody else in that process, we want the process to work itself up. And she's making this point, well, dude, there have been like 9 people coming out. How many people do you know that was blocked from going to a shopping mall because these guys were considered to be a pedophile? Like, so she's laying it on thick to him. But come on. Morality is not a component of that office. I take issue with the last conversation. Morality is not qualifying for leadership in your view. Asking the question in a way that assumes that she believes that morality is part of leadership. I would wager that she's talking about Obama. I would wager she's talking about Obama. And I'm saying that is so biased. That is so myopic. That is a fucking amazing view if that's her perspective. Yeah, if that's her perspective. Like I said, I could be wrong. But the question assumes, but morality is not qualifying for leadership. In your view, Reid express. Well, she's asking about morality. Yeah. Just goes to show you can't criticize Democrats for foreign ties. No, you can criticize Democrats for pretty much anything. It depends on what they're doing. I mean, I think it was a good thing that what's his name? I can't think of his name. The guy who was in Virginia, Tim Kaine. I thought it was a good thing that Tim Kaine, for the most part, went with this idea of getting rid of superdelegates. I thought that was good. I thought that was good. Some of this other stuff, no, not so much. It really does depend on what they're doing. It really does depend on what they're doing. Joy and Reid, man. MSNBC. Look, Fox News, MSNBC, and CNN all have their thing. It's like one end of the spectrum, the other end of the spectrum, and in the middle. The thing is, it's a false spectrum. Like, the spectrum isn't necessarily real. The spectrum is just built around this kind of established order of things. It's not real. It's not real at all. Anybody who owned media, in a sense, would essentially create the narrative. Meaning mainstream is whatever media comes up with. Politicians and media kind of work tandem on this particular point. Media wants access. Politicians want to essentially get on media, get their point across. And beyond that, I would imagine media doesn't want to fuck around with the government. I would wager that would be the case. They don't want to piss these guys off. So yeah, there's a certain collusion between the two. It gives this false impression that the boundaries of debate is either somebody batshit crazy on Fox News or somebody who's to the right on MSNBC. Socially liberal, don't get me wrong. Socially liberal, but for the most part a conservative. It's like a social Republican. Yeah. These guys are propagandists, man. Why have this guy on the show? Like, you have a pastor on the show who's a Trump supporter, and the guy is defending a pedophile using the Bible to do it, talking about due process. It's amazing, man. It's absolutely amazing. Oh, didn't know that, Bob. Don't doubt that they're capable of throwing some of their own under the bus. Yes, they are. There's a new strategy out there. Admit that some Democrats was bad in the past, but it's too late to go after them, then turn and say that's the reason to go after Trump. Yeah, Bob, I'm not shocked. I wouldn't be shocked by that. When Donna Brazile came out and she had her book, I honestly thought Donna Brazile was we're throwing some under the bus to save the rest. That's what I thought. I honestly thought it. Tom Perez and the other ones were too stupid to pick up on the idea. And so they jumped on this thing of, nope. There was no wrongdoing. Let's just move on. There was no wrongdoing. Let's just move on. You can trust this next time. Good luck with that. Good luck with that one. Good luck. Chinka's done it. Emma Vigeland just did it on Cheddar. Probably more to come. No way. Saying to move on. Oh, I got to look that up. Cenk Uygur backing up the DNC. That's awesome. Well, when sticking together doesn't work, sacrifice the weaklings. Just kick the last guy. Kick the guy running behind you to the hungry lion. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, Bob, I'm gonna have to look that one up. If this is diverging a little bit, but if you can't even admit that you did something wrong, like it's your husband comes home drunk, wasted, lipstick on his collar, lipstick on his flip on his zipper, and he's like, nothing happened, and you're like, but I saw you get out the car with that hooker. Nothing happened. But you were shit-faced drunk. I saw you messing around. You understand? I saw it. I got you on video. Nothing happened. We just need to move on. Nothing happened. So yeah, I'm not in that camp of nothing happened. If Mrs. Thomas cheated on me, Mrs. Thomas will be out the house tomorrow. Yeah. I mean, come on. You don't have to outrun the bear. You just have to outrun the guy running the bear. Right. Red economics. That's right. Just to be known, never get into a situation where you're running from anything from red economics. She's on it. You just like kick the guy who's behind you. Oh yeah, man. That dim enter, dim exit thing digs in me. He digs me like nobody's business. And I always have to not bitch about it. And it's not even bitching about it. Or not make my argument on that. Yeah, I was have to force myself back. Hard Bastard did a thing on Chink's performance recently. Oh, I have to check it out. Bob Ramirez said Anna was worse. She was acting as if the primary wasn't even rigged. Wow. Wow. You know, it's funny. You know, leading up to, during the primaries, TYT, I think, was this thing I watched. Because I love the coverage on Sanders. And I couldn't necessarily get that coverage anywhere else. And you could see a change that took place on the set. Particularly with Anna. Like with Anna, Jimmy Dore, and with Kyle. Where they were having this like, fuck, do you support Hillary Clinton afterwards? Kyle voted for Jill Stein. Good on Kyle. Cenk, of course, voted for Hillary Clinton. And Anna, of course, voted for Hillary Clinton. Now, the wild part about this is, once she made up her mind, like, oh my God, I'm terrified of Trump, Hillary Clinton was okay. Hillary Clinton was okay. So, yeah, I'm not surprised that they'll say, hey, man, let's just get over it. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. If so, they're doing their audience a massive disservice. If so, they're doing them a massive disservice. Because at this point, let's be honest. Let's be honest. I don't have anything necessarily against TYT. I don't have anything necessarily against Justice Democrats. If a Justice Democrat is running and that person is representing your interests, and let's be honest, regardless of what you think of the outfit, the candidates who are running are further to the left than the Democrats that are there. So yes, Paula Swearengin would get my vote because I want Joe Manchin out that goddamn seat. That's true. That being said, they fuse their media organization to a political body. How can I believe anything that's coming out the media system at that point if you have a dog in the hunt? Now, to some degree, you always had somewhat of a dog in the hunt, but that was always tangential. It was, I believe in this and I think we need to do X. Well, now it's, I'm funding X. I'm funding X. I'm putting money behind X. I'm putting money in these politicians. I'm doing X. Your political body. Your political body at that point. So, would I be shocked that an organization that calls itself a progressive network and is now a political body, whether it calls itself a political body or not, it is a political institution, it is a political entity. Would that organization, seeing that the people they're running are Democrats, have a vested interest in trying to sheepdog people back into the Democratic Party? And the answer is yes. Whether it's intentional or not, it doesn't really matter if it's intentional or not. There's an incentive for that particular organization to get people back into the Democratic Party because it wants those people in the party to vote for their candidates. Now, will the network tilt itself to suit that aim? Yes, of course it will. Of course it will. So, yeah, there are problems with using yourself to this kind of political entity in that way. How can I trust what you're saying when all this stuff is boiled down to, yes, I want to get this particular candidate elected? Yeah, I am not on this dim enter bandwagon at all. I think it's a fool's errand. Now, or at the very least, if you're going to try to do it, the way you do it is a third party. Or at the very least look, that is a stone you need to throw. And if you're going to throw that stone, that means you need to be willing to lose. That's my point. Meaning, all of it starts with being willing to say no. That's where it starts. So, if you're willing to support Hillary Clinton after the Democratic Party cheated your candidate, the person who you were going behind all that time. Look, man, like I said, it's nothing against the network or anything else. It's just, if you're calling yourself a quote-unquote progressive network and you're supposedly representing the left and you have millions of people who fled out that party streaming like it was a burning ship. When Tom Perez was chosen, you had several more million people stream out that party like it was a burning ship. And now you have certain organizations and certain politicians, Bernie Sanders, trying to sheepdog people back into that organization. Yeah, I think it's a disservice. I got to be honest. And it's not so much a disservice if the organization itself didn't necessarily have a dog in the hunt, but they have a dog in the hunt. And that's all. I don't mean to shit on Justice Democrats, but that is true. It's unqualifiedly true. Keep them doggies rolling, raw, hot. Still talking about Hillary? Nah, I'm not talking about Hillary. Jade, look at the New Orleans mayoral race. Jamarl, progressives won. That is damn good. I've always said you had two options. You either going to have to outright win. You're going to have to outright win. There's no need to compromise, no need for additional strategy if you just outright win and take the seat. Or being willing to make them lose. Either strategy. Either strategy. I don't care which. I don't care which. I'm not, all that ideological bent on this one. Martin Luther King said, I'd rather stow thrones than throw stones. I have no idea what that means. Stow thrones, okay? Dale Chomsky, amuses me that TYT of the past gave audience the media literacy tools that are now being used to rightly criticize TYT's current coverage. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you had to give him credit where credit's due. For the longest time, that was, and look, some might argue still is, the go-to for Progressive Network. So, go to Progressive Network. Yeah, like I said, I don't have issues with TYT on this front. And again, if their candidates are representing your interests, vote for those candidates that represent your interests. And all things being equal, their candidates will be to the left of the insanity that's there now. So, it's not that it's not that I'm against it. It's just, we should be honest on the problem with that incentive structure. That's all. Mark P. Sanders, if you want to peer into an alternate universe where he won and lived to be 108, watch. I'll check it out. Kate Bench speaks of Australian Bernie Sanders. Don't cry. I'm not going to cry. Zach Simpson, is CYT the lesser of two evils of lefty media? That's funny. That's funny. Have HA and Tom Hartman registered as foreign agents yet? HA is going to be arrested. That's funny. Emma Vigeland of TYT Politics recently on one of her videos criticized Bernie by saying, we can't ignore the fact that the DNC was rigged. Good. Good for Emma. Good for Emma. And new poll came out today saying people want the Democratic Party to move to the left. Yes, agreed. Jay Scott, we're in agreement on this. And it's not just it. That's not just a new poll. That was an older poll, even just among Democrats. Move to the left. Move to the left. Yes. I would wager that a lot of the independents didn't leave the party. The party left those independents. I would strongly wager that. I agree. I know some people disagree with me with the Demexit thing. Those people haven't really made a strong case on why staying in that situation would be to the betterment. Like, say for example, and this is a hypothetical, so fair enough. But say for example, be pessimistic for the moment. They don't get rid of superdelegates. And they don't get rid of the closed primaries. You didn't get what you wanted. If Bernie Sanders runs again in 2020, he's stacked in the same way. They may not be able to cheat him as flagrantly just because of how many eyes are on the process. But come on. That's an uphill climb right off the bat. Do you still stay? Like, is it a process where you don't get anything that you want in a situation? Meaning the main things that you need to get to make sure you're going to be a contestant. Those things are not given to you. Those things are not provided to you. What do you do? Or do you still stay with this burning ship? Or do you finally say, okay, these guys don't want me. I am doing something else. Now, I just make this point that whether you actually do something else or not, or whether you actually do something else, having the threat, having the stone, having the capacity to get that stuff up and running, and starting the process of getting it up and running is a big fucking deal. It's a big fucking deal. That's all. I'm not going to belabor this point. I'm not going to belabor this point. New Orleans is proof we can win with progressives and Democratic Party. Jay Scott, I agree with you. Don't get me wrong. We have had a Democratic Socialist win in Virginia. That's amazing. Our revolution has won all throughout the United States. All I'm saying is, if your candidate doesn't win, if he doesn't win, and you're stuck with some stooge that they put up that you know in no way is going to represent your interests, do you still give them your vote? That's what I'm asking. And even on the federal and presidential level, if they don't necessarily open these primaries, do you still support that party? Meaning, are you still going to try to run, and are you going to still try to go through the process of dealing with that particular party if you don't get the things that you need to actually run in that particular party in 2020? I think it's a fair question. HA has a vendetta against TYT, and if he keeps accusing him of things they have not done yet, he may get sued. Yeah, he's on his own thing. He's on his own thing. I watched a video of HA after, he doesn't like Jordan. He hates Jordan. He absolutely hates Jordan. And when the video came out with Jordan, I was like, okay, I need to see what HA is saying. I gotta see what HA is saying. And I was buzzed, significantly buzzed. And it was the funniest shit I had ever seen. It was the funniest shit I had seen that day. HA went in. He went all in. He went all in. He was cursing. HA's videos are like usually like 5 minutes. I think it was like 14, 15 minutes. He went in. He went all in. And it was this minor, well, I don't know if he did it, but XYZ, you know, going into him. Yeah, it was funny. It was funny. It was absolutely hilarious. Proof will be if Justice Democrats grabbed a Senate or congressional seat. We shall see. Zach Simpson. Agreed, Zach. Agreed. Bernie is doing the progressive cause a disservice. The Kitty 3. Yeah, I don't like this step it, fetch it. I don't like this. Whatever you give me is fine. Whatever you give me is fine. How many times do they have to... I'm not going to go into it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. It's just... I'm trying to think of, was there any situation where I was in a relationship where I, like, loved the air that the woman put out so much that it didn't matter what took place in the relationship, I was still going to be there. I don't know of that situation. I can't conceive of that situation. I would think at a certain point I would say, I've had enough. I've had enough. I don't care how good it is. I don't care how much I like her. I don't care if I like her mama. Don't care. This is done. Now, I'm asking, what is that breaking point? Is there a breaking point? Is this just one of those things where Sanders is just going to run in perpetuity as a Democrat, getting cheated over and over and over again? And I'm being facetious when I'm saying this. Justice Democrats are the boarding party, but they need help of third-party external forces. Democrats have to face a mortal threat to change. Yes! Apple Chomsky. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That is the message that I've been trying to put out. And Apple Chomsky put it out in 3 sentences. Luca Clemente. Jordan does seem guilty of being an arrogant ass. Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. Like, it's hard to know, but yeah, it does seem like he's an asshole. Darren Levy. Would Joe Manchin join the Republican Party as he gets pissed off if he's being primaried? I think Trump will endorse him. That would be fucking interesting, right? He may get pissed off that he's getting primary, but I don't think Paula Swearengin is going to beat Joe Manchin. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I completely hope I'm wrong. But I'm skeptical of that. I think Joe Manchin is terrified of the Republican, if I'm being honest. I think he's scared that he's going to lose a seat. Bernie Sanders is cognitive dissonance generator in the belly of the beast. Mark P. J. Scott, if you ever played a video game, you know you don't fight the final boss first. You have to beat the minor bosses and win locally. J. Scott. Then what was the point of Bernie Sanders running? Like, honest, Jay, come on. Come on. I know you disagree with my with my hardline Demexit strategy. Fair enough. Fair enough. But let's be fair. Let's be perfectly fair. Bernie Sanders ran for president of the United States in 2016. Now, it ran for the primary to be president of the United States. Bernie Sanders didn't have a boarding party or anything else. He made that based upon the movement that you can say he started, or this kind of waking people up to some degree through his campaign. Now, the smaller seats, you might have gotten some in the smaller seats, but are you telling me that that wasn't just a lightning rod that dragged all of these people to the, to the trough at that point? I agree with you. I don't necessarily disagree that getting like smaller races in state and local governments A win is a win is a win. But come on. The bigger fish matter. The bigger fish totally matter. And I don't necessarily think it has to be, I need to have all of these other things before I do this particular thing. Otherwise, Bernie Sanders would have never ran. Otherwise, he would have never ran. Richard Russ, you cannot support Democrats until there is an election process you can trust. Agreed. And one that allows you to run progressive candidates against establishment candidates with ranked choice. Agreed. Agreed, agreed, agreed. Absolutely agree. Ranked choice voting is where you're not penalized for a third-party choice. So if a Democrat was running against a Republican and there was a Green Party member, if I wanted to vote Green in other circumstances, it may hurt me because I don't necessarily want the Republican in office. So you put people in this situation of saying, oh, fuck, I would prefer to vote for the Green, but I don't know how many other people will vote for that Green candidate. So I will knuckle under and vote for the Democrat. Ranked choice voting allows, if your person didn't win, if your Green Party candidate didn't win, your second vote will go towards the person that you wanted. So you could say, I would like the Green, then the Democrat, then a Republican. So it's a way of allowing third parties into the process without those third parties being penalized. And they are being penalized. It's just from this cognitive other thing. This other sitting on my shoulder. And if I would vote for this person, if other people voted for this person, but I don't know if other people will vote for this person, so I am not going to vote for the guy who I want. Yeah, get rid of that. Tries to address that. Oh man, if Paula loses, will TYT endorse Manchin over the Republicans? Zach Simpson, that's my point. That's my point. That's my point. I hope Republicans put up another Roy Moore in West Virginia so we can find out. I bet my bottom dollar they will. Zach Simpson. Zach Simpson. Badass name, by the way. That's the question I've asked earlier. It's like, if Paula Swearengin loses, is TYT going to support Joe Manchin? Inquiring minds want to know. I want to know. Like, are they going to support the Democrat in every scenario if their person loses? I'm fascinated by that question. I really am. Darren Levy. Bernie will clearly run in 2020. He's trying to. Yeah, he's doing speeches and all. Coleman will run as well. I think Pence will be the interim president. Coleman would lose. I think Sanders will beat the stuffing out of him. As for... Yes, I'm biased. Yeah. He looks like he's trying to run. But Sanders has been doing speeches and all. I think he thinks it's his turn. And he's right. Jill Stein is helping Maine keep their ranked choice voting the people voted for. Jacqueline, am I right? The Maine, they tried to rescind that. Like, the public itself had a referendum on ranked choice voting. And the politicians, understanding that their political life is in danger. Because if you get ranked choice voting, you immediately make both parties susceptible to be taken out on their ass. You do, immediately. Like, because think about it. And you can see why. You have, and this is problematic, by the way. You have Democratic and Republican parties. Both of those parties are two corporations. Just like any other corporations, they like monopolies. And they have a monopoly on the process. Now, they don't look like monopolies because to you they're just politicians and this is politics. But those are two corporations. Those are two corporations. Right now, you have some of them running a particular bus, that bus being the government. But don't mistake the person who's running the bus for the bus itself, meaning you don't mistake the person for the apparatus. Whether it's a Green Party, whether it's a Republican Party, whether it's a Libertarian, whether it's a, God forbid, a Democrat. Those are just people who are running the bus. The reason I'm using this analogy in this way is because ranked choice voting, like I said before, it doesn't penalize a third party. People, look, just in normal cognitive awareness, thinks to themselves, I would love to vote for Jill Stein. But if I vote for Jill Stein, Donald Trump is a fucking maniac, and Donald Trump is going to eat babies, he's going to kick puppies, and he's going to be throwing cars and Buicks. So, yeah, I'm voting for Hillary Clinton. I can see people saying that. I don't think people are insane for saying that. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying ranked choice voting allows you to say, I am voting for Jill Stein first, and the Democrats second. It doesn't penalize your vote. It gets rid of the other thing. So now, if you have 20% of the people who want to vote for Jill Stein, those 20% are going to vote for Jill Stein. They're not penalized for doing so. It's a good idea. If I was I thought I saw an article somewhere that the politicians themselves tried to rescind the referendum that the public passed. They're trying to protect their power. I've never thought of my name as badass, but thanks. It's the Zach. It's that Z sound. And mind you, it's not bad. So otherwise, it just the name, the Z sound was strong. Jacqueline Thomas. Exactly, the RP and DPs are Democratic Party. Private corporations that the people do not own. Exactly. They use our systems. Don't get me wrong. They will use our schools and all this other stuff, but they're not the bus. They're not the bus. And that's another point. They cheated Bernie Sanders using our equipment. So they're at our schools or at our voting locations. That's our stuff. That's public property. Cheating people on public property. Jeremy Polosco, the kitty. Why was ranked choice voting a problem in Minneapolis? Yeah, I want to know that too. Darren Levy. If Gavin Newsom becomes governor of California, the nurses and the revolutionaries maybe will endorse him if he endorses Sanders in 2020 California primary. Fair enough. The nurses have been really active in California. Fucking A, good job. Look at the socialist alternative analysis of the recent Minneapolis race with Jinder Jensington. Socialist alternative. Darren, no, they would. So, socialist alternative. The reason I know socialist alternative, I've heard this word before. When at the Convergence conference, Cornel West, it was Cornel West, Jimmy Dore, socialist. What is her name? The one that's in Washington State. I can't think of her name. She's Indian. They were on stage. They were having this kind of and Nick Brana. All of them were on stage, and this guy stands up when they're doing questions. So this guy stands up and he has a notebook, and he's like doing his speech. And then he starts to get really hyped up, and he's like, "Socialist alternative will expose you!" And he's just screaming and pointing at the audience. And at this point, I'm like, "Oh my god, this guy's amazing! This guy's fucking amazing!" And he's pointing at Cornel West, and I was like, "Wow, that was impressive. I was immensely impressed." Cornel West didn't seem to appreciate it too much. I would imagine not. I think the other people were kind of like, "Oh my god, this guy's on something." But that's why I know of socialist alternative. That was my first introduction to socialist alternative. Somebody screaming and yelling and pointing at Cornel West. That's it. Shamus Jawan. That's it. Barbara Ramirez said, Carter agrees with most of Sanders' message, but he knows Bernie is playing a role. Cynic. Maryland. Everyone in Oregon votes by mail, so paper ballots and no standing in line. Not bad. Captain Obvious. I agree that ranked choice voting would be much better, but I can't see people in power now in both parties implementing it. Why would they? They would if their political life was at stake. This stuff is choice, man. I say that a lot, and I don't say it in a flippant way. I just mean it's dollars or pitchforks. You may not have dollars, but you get a lot of you together, you have pitchforks. And all I'm saying is, if these guys were pressured relentlessly, they wouldn't have a choice to do it. They wouldn't have a choice. They do what you allow them, or look, they're going to float to the lowest energy level like anything else. Meaning, whatever's in them is the thing that they're going to go for. Otherwise, they're just going to frog on a log. Status quo. Now, if you're pushing them and pressuring them, yeah, they would have to do it. They wouldn't have a choice. If there was some kind of referendum that they would have to implement, and then taking names for anybody who tries to rescind that particular referendum, yes, there are ways that you can get that by. You just need numbers. In every context of anything that you want to get done, if you're the 99%, you need numbers. The rich have cash. You have dollars, or you have pitchforks. Dollars or pitchforks. It's like my I guess I've started using that saying right much, but I think it's true. I think it's just flat fact true. How much pressure can you bear, or can you put on a particular person, on a particular office, in order to force that particular office to enact your will or get taken out of that office? They do it in other neighborhoods, meaning when there's a cop shooting, where a cop shoots a black kid, some of these people, like some of these DAs, were actually put in an office going after that particular demographic, saying this guy shot somebody, we're going to get law and order, we're going to have, but law and order not in this sadistic way, law and order in the sense of this kind of community policing and holding police accountable for murders. So you can do it. You just need numbers. You can do it. I don't like people being dispirited, but at the same token, you do need numbers. Merlin's correct. I feel that is why I no longer listen to or follow Bernie. Bob Ramirez, so vote by mail, no exit polls to reveal tampering. That's a good point, Bob. That's a good point, Bob. How about what our government is doing to RT? That is scary. That is terrifying. That is terrifying. I did a video on that the other day. RT, and I may do a separate one on this. RT does have a bias. Now, RT would like to say it doesn't have a bias. RT does have a bias. And you can make a case that RT to some degree is, it's not really a propaganda network, but maybe you can make the case that it is. What I mean by that is, from our standpoint, there's no bias in RT. It's invisible. It is functionally invisible to you. It is functionally invisible to me most of the time, but the bias is there. Every so often, when you look at it just right, you can see, oh, there it is. There it is. There it is. But the bias that they have is our bias. So I'm okay with that particular bias. Meaning this kind of anti-imperialistic network. It's a progressive network. It's a lefty network. Now, I would imagine that you can make a strong case. So you can make a case that says RT is not necessarily trying to destabilize, but it is trying to kick up a certain amount of dust using lefty politics, using this kind of revolutionary politics. The politics is important, but that's not driven by RT. That's driven by the facts on the ground. That's driven by the things that were done in the office. RT has nothing to do with that. What RT is doing is kind of shining a spotlight on this idea of lefty media. What does the left want to know? And it shows that particular perspective. I would make the case that it shows that perspective because it's the best perspective for Russia. Like that sounds, you know, like I'm lending to their credibility, but it's not. If you were Russia, would you want somebody who was a hawk, or would you want somebody who was anti-imperialist? The left, for the most part, the honest, the real left, is against these wars, is against these foreign interventions. And it takes a little bit more context than these neocons have in both parties. So if you needed to have a conversation with somebody, if you wanted somebody in power, who would you want in power? You would want somebody from the left. So I don't necessarily think it's random that RT just so happens to have a kind of a lefty bias. That being said, they're not lying. The stuff that they're presenting is true. And the stuff that they're presenting is the stuff that we ourselves are interested in. They're trying to lock down RT because they want to get rid of that particular perspective. They don't like the perspective that's contrary to CNN or those other two propaganda networks, or state media, you can call it. It's a different perspective. It is scary that that's what they're trying to do, to attack RT, to get rid of that particular perspective. Back in the 50s and the 60s, they had the Red Scare. And so there was a wall that you could put up and saying, that guy was a socialist, take that guy and put that guy in prison. You didn't want to be called a commie. You didn't want to be called a commie. So in the Cold War, there was this natural line in regards to how far to the left you can go without there necessarily being this kind of side eye going on by the population. We're beyond that point. We are far beyond that point. There may be some Cold Warriors out there who are in their 60s and 70s. Those people are going to die in a few years. I'm sorry you have to go. But yes, you need to go. The world will be a better place once that particular thought process leaves. I'm just making the point that one of the ways, instead of using the Cold War like was used back then to that effect, shutting down Twitter, shutting down these things on Facebook, demonetize the videos on YouTube, putting pressure on Facebook, Twitter, and all this other stuff to not show certain content that they don't necessarily want people to see. And RT, trying to tar RT or tar Black Lives Matter or tar some of the progressive movements as being some kind of Russia propaganda thing. This stuff has nothing to do with RT. It's everything to do with them trying to control the narratives that come out in this public. That's what I think anyway. Did you see Lee Camp's video on RT? I did. All the journalists who have pushed out of mainstream media for speaking truth to begin Enriquez. Yes, I did. And Lee Camp is absolutely right. Jacqueline Thompson agreed that it serves Russia. But as long as the truth is told, that's what counts. Agreed. Agreed. And of course it's going to have a perspective of Russia. It's Russia TV. I mean, it's RT. It's Russia Today. It's literally RT. So yeah, it would be shocked if the perspective was anything else. It's like, here's a German perspective from RT. What does that mean? What does that mean? No, you can expect that. Fair enough. Everybody, look, there is no neutral observer. There is no neutral. Unless you are outside the reality frame, there's no neutral observer. Meaning, whether it's RT, whether it's CNN, whether it's MSNBC, all those things, they're reporting certain narratives. Are the narratives true? That's what matters. Is it true? That's what matters. This idea of land of the free and home of the brave, but you're terrified of a television network giving actual information and actual news that runs counter to this imperialist shit that goes on. Imagine that. I mean, Donald Trump fires off a missile into Syria. Just fires it off. President of the United States. No justification for it at all. Doesn't have approval from anybody. Him by himself says, I am going to fire off a missile. The media wasn't enraged by this. They didn't hop on their chair. They weren't screaming or none of that stuff. The president has just committed an illegal act. And everybody looks at it as if nothing has taken place. And what's wild about it, some of them are even fetishizing the missile launch. Brian Williams was touching himself under the desk as the missile flew overhead. He's like, oh, what is it? I'm blinded by the light of our weapons. That missile shot killed Syrians, by the way. There was a few people that it hit and killed, supposedly. But Brian Williams is guided by that. I wonder if Brian Williams has the constitutional justification for that missile launch. Was the United States in threat? Was some of our interests in threat? Both of those answers are no. Both of those answers are no. Congress didn't say squat. The media didn't say squat. RT did. RT would. RT did. RT bitched and moaned about it. Because RT should have bitched and moaned about it. It should have. And look, if at any point RT goes off the rails, they go off the rails. But for the time being, where they're presenting factual and true information, fuck yeah, I love them. I love them. Yeah, the anti-imperialists. But you can understand why they're anti-imperialists. They don't necessarily want those things hitting Russia. Like, look, if it was me, if I was Vladimir Putin, RT is a fucking magnificent idea. The United States does something similar, by the way. Like our media and everything else, be it movies or ours is a little bit more insidious because it's not necessarily this kind of overt news. But they do get news from America at times. And our media, our music, all those things, our classes, all those things gets across a certain ideological view into other cultures. In this case, Russia has made the decision we want to influence the debate in the United States. Fair enough. Now, pursuant to this, I don't necessarily know if Russia said we want to have a very specific section of the populace that we want to support. Meaning we want to support elements of the left that is anti-imperialist, that is not into war, that's not into those things. I don't think Putin is doing that out of the kindness of his heart. I don't necessarily think Putin is this great guy riding a bear. I know the picture was a fake still. I think it's badass being bare-chested riding a bear. I think it's awesome. The image in my head is awesome. I don't think Putin is a good guy. But that being said, if Russia is going to pay for a television network that represents my interests, I'm going to use that network that represents my interests. It's that simple. Yeah, it's that simple. It's that simple. If at any point the stuff becomes off the rails, then yeah, it's a problem. Yeah, it's a problem. But, yeah. Will MSNBC have to register as an agent of Comcast? You know, Russia is making everybody, all those networks in Russia, register as foreign agents. If they're getting money from abroad, they responded to our childhood behavior. Russia is a democracy. Who are you kidding? Putin is an authoritarian strongman, ex-KGB agent. He's been running Russia for a while, yeah. Yeah, I never said he wasn't. Yeah, that's what I said. I never said Putin was a good guy. Unless that wasn't aimed at me. Yeah, I don't think Putin's a good guy. I don't think he's a good guy at all. I do think, like I said, he wants to push the debate. And I think he wants to push the debate in a way that makes the likelihood of a conflict less, if that makes sense, by supporting the interest in a country that wants conflict to be less. So in that case, yes, our perspectives align. Someone else said that, not aimed at you. Okay, thanks, Zach. What's happening, Gnome? What's happening, Gnome? The American dream is the biggest scam in history. Agreed. But that was competing against Soviet Union at that point. It was two competing ideologies, and they were in a existential death match. Yeah, Putin, love him or hate him, he is a grand political chess player, and he knows how to play out and smart people. Yeah, agreed. Putin has not killed as many people as Bush or Kissinger. Also agreed. Richard Russ, agreed. Agreed. Absolutely agreed. It's funny. I started this when talking about this kind of moral imperative of a leader. This is what I mean with MSNBC and Joy and Reid. I agree with you that this guy is completely immoral. Yes. But do you question, or the way she was questioning him, the assumption is, well, shouldn't morality be part of leadership? In a conceptual world, yes. In our reality, it's just not. And if the person I would love for him to ask her, do you believe Barack Obama was a moral president? I would have loved that question, because I would have loved to hear her answer. I would have loved to hear her answer. I suspect she would have said yes. And she would have caught on fire. Immediately. Because come on. If you're going to bitch and moan at George Bush, and then Obama comes in office, and he just continues with the Bush policies, expands those policies, by the way, and is a better manager of those policies, killing thousands and thousands of innocent civilians. How are you not pissed off and upset about that one? I'm just always missing how MSNBC completely gives a pass to the last president, but it's up in arms about this one. So, yeah. How do we know how many people Putin and his administration have killed during the post-KGB? I still think you stuck, Gardner, but thanks for finding the connection. I don't know how many people Putin killed, but George Bush killed 1 million. Now, that Iraq war, in which they went into a country and killed 1 million people, I don't know if Putin killed 1 million people. I have no information saying Putin killed that many people. So, the U.S. intervened in Russia's election by pushing Yeltsin. Yes, they did. Merlin, I fucking love my audience that you guys know this stuff. Yeah, we did. Yeah, Putin was Boris Yeltsin was running against a communist, if I'm not mistaken. And the Clinton administration, of course, favored Yeltsin. And they went in and supported Yeltsin. Do you know they lost millions of people in their transition from the communist system? Millions. Millions of people died in that process. The West completely ignores it. We put our vultures into those countries, and those people tried to enrich themselves. Yeah, we killed millions in that process. Comcast owns Vox, which is providing legal support for Jordan Sheridan. Jeff Kazenberg, $20 million TYT donor, did the DreamWorks Comcast merger. No way! Are you serious? I'll take you seriously once you take off the I'm with her bib, Jeremy. Uh-oh. Jeremy has an I'm with her bib? Where's Jeremy? I don't see Jeremy. Yeah, I don't see Jeremy. Bill Clinton loved Puppet Yeltsin. Yes, he did. The laws in California need to be changed so voting, because on the ballot, it's the top 2 candidates. And here in North California, it's always Democrats. And they never have a chance for Greens on the ballot. Rob, Illinois. Yeah, voting is problematic. Jeremy Scott. J. Scott. Jeremy equals J. Oh, okay. I see. I'm with her. I didn't take it as I'm with her. I took it as he was defending the Democratic Party. That's what I take it. He was a soldier to the end. Yeah, Gardner, I didn't know that, man. Yeah, I did not know that. That's a nice piece of information. I didn't realize that they were defending Jordan. Yeah. All right, I am going to leave it at that. My dog just came in the room. Yes, that's true. Poon Jiu-Jitsu could never defeat Bernie's Kung Fu. Look at that. Jacqueline Thompson. I have to say Garden Gnome as a guest. We do have to get Garden Gnome as a guest one day. In fact, we need to get guests in general one day. Definitely. All right, guys. I am going to end it here. I don't want my dog to eat something that he has no business eating. So, if you enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support the Patreon. Thanks, guys.